AEW President and CEO Tony Khan says there's a 90% chance of an AEW media rights deal announcement within the next month. Hangman Adam Page finally defeats Swerve Strickland and KOs him in the Lights Out Steel Cage main event at AEW All Out. The Blackpool Combat Club shockingly turn on AEW World Champion Bryan Danielson after he retained the AEW World Championship against Jack Perry last night. Speaking of which, AEW have released a statement about the attack, refraining from posting any of the footage on social media. Mercedes Moné is still the TBS champion after defeating Hikaru Shida. Kazuchika Okada retains the AEW Continental Championship. Chris Statlander defeats Willow Nightingale in a violent Chicago street fight. Will Ospreay is still the AEW International Champion, and a possible future match against Ricochet is set up last night at the All Out pay-per-view. The Young Bucks are still the AEW World Tag Team Champions. Plus, MJF defeats Daniel Garcia in a brilliant opener, but it looks like MJF set to take time off to film a new movie. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with Tony Khan giving an update on the AEW media rights negotiations with Warner Bros. Discovery, because after Friday's AEW Collision and Rampage tapings, many had thought there was going to be a big announcement this weekend at All Out, but maybe the AEW CEO is backtracking just slightly. Now, a new AEW media rights deal may finally be near. Now, during an abbreviated All Out media scrum on Saturday, a reporter asked Tony Khan to give the probability of announcing a new media rights deal in the next month. Khan responded that he was, quote, 90% sure that would happen. Quote, like I said, I feel we are on the 1 yard line, he later explained. I'm not sure how many snaps it's going to take to punch the ball into the end zone. I'm 100% sure the ball is going to go into the end zone based on the timetable you gave me. I don't know. You put me on the spot, but that's how good I feel about the media rights. Now, again, the reason this question comes up is because Khan, at the end of Friday's Collision and Rampage taping, said that, quote, AEW on TBS and TNT, I think, is here to stay, end quote. He reiterated those comments during the media scrum. Quote, I have not put pen to paper. I'm still working on things, he said. It's an exciting time without getting too specific, but while giving everybody that anticipation of things to come. Now, only Khan took questions during Saturday's scrum and answered a few other questions unrelated to AEW's media rights negotiations before leaving early. One person asked about the recently filed AEW Shockwave trademark. Khan replied simply that AEW is set to create a shockwave following the events that took place at All Out. Another question was regarding former AEW Women's World Champion Britt Baker, who has been gone from AEW television since losing to Mercedes Moné at All In previously. Khan said that Baker was an important part of AEW and to keep an eye out for her. Now, Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, certainly that was a match that many were looking forward to last night at All Out, and Hangman Adam Page has finally got a measure of redemption seemingly. Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland took each other to the limit in a lights out unsanctioned steel cage match in the main event of AEW All Out, and it was a chair shot to the head by Page that led to his victory by knockout. The match started before the cage even lowered and involved weapons from barbed wire to a hypodermic needle. The pair started the match by holding each other outside of the ropes as if to decapitate one another as the structure lowered. Strickland went for a toolbox Prince Nana had thrown in the ring, retrieved a staple gun and stapled Page's back and chest with his family photos. Page used a strand of barbed wire around his arm to hit a lariat to Strickland, then drug his opponent's face across it. Strickland went for a cinder box, but dropped it, Page back first onto it, with visible effects to Page's skin. Strickland hit a swerve stomp from the top rope to Page, sending him through the table below, but Hangman kicked out. Page went back to his bag in the corner of the ring and then got out a piece of wood from Strickland's burned down house and looked as though he was going to stab his rival before Strickland countered and drug out the sharp end of the wood against Page's forehead. Page battled back and hit a powerbomb to Strickland across the cinder block. Strickland regained his composure enough to hit a second house call before going to the top rope. Page followed Strickland and hit an awesome bomb from the top, followed by a deadeye. Page then pulled the grill out of Strickland's mouth, retrieved a hypodermic needle from a bag, and put the needle through Strickland's cheek before hitting him in the head with a chair. The referee called for the bell, and Page was awarded the victory by knockout. Now, as far as what this means for Strickland going forward, as I mentioned, Hangman Adam Page has now got a measure of revenge, but when it comes to Strickland, it looks like he could possibly be set for some time off from AEW. According to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, Swerve Strickland will reportedly be taking some time off from AEW following last night's Lights Out match. He said, quote, "I heard a long time ago that Swerve was going to sign the contract and get some time off, and this was the angle, so possibly Swerve could be off AEW TV for a little while." Now, shockingly, last night, the Blackpool Combat Club, being led by Jon Moxley, turned their back on AEW World Champion Bryan Danielson. Now, Bryan Danielson may have retained his AEW World Championship at All Out Saturday night, but he left Chicago with fewer friends than he started with, as his fellow Blackpool Combat Club members Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli viciously turned on him following the title bout, with Pac holding back a tearful Wheeler Yuta. By the time the attack was over, medics were giving Danielson oxygen due to Moxley asphyxiating him with a plastic bag, and AEW fans were left with far more questions than answers. Danielson's opponent Jack Perry had arrived on his bus and was accompanied to the ring by the Young Bucks and a SWAT team. Early on, Perry was forced to wrestle Danielson's style, but as the match progressed, Perry took control and attacked the champion on the outside by throwing him into the barricades and sitting him in a chair to drop kick him. He even put Danielson in his own move, the cattle mutilation. The match would see interference from the Bucks, who were run off by Castagnoli and Yuta. Of course, the Bucks had defeated them earlier on in the evening, and it was a stark contrast to Castagnoli's later actions. Perry would end up kicking out of Danielson's Psycho knee, but ultimately fell to a second one after seemingly inviting the move from the champion. The post-match segment contained a parade of twists and turns. First, Killswitch attacked Danielson from behind, locking eyes with former friend and partner Perry. Then Christian Cage, title contract in hand, made his way to the ring with the rest of the Patriarchy. That's when Moxley appeared with the rest of the BCC to ward off any attempted cash-in. The Patriarchy retreated and the BCC celebrated in the ring until Castagnoli suddenly hit Danielson with an uppercut and Moxley put the plastic bag over his head. Moxley's recent associate Marina Shafir got in the ring as well. After Danielson was unconscious, Moxley left with Castagnoli and Pac, while Yuta cradled his mentor, leaving his loyalties apparently unknown. Now, as far as a statement on this, AEW has posted the following on social media saying, quote, "Due to the graphic nature of the attack on Bryan Danielson, we will not be sharing the footage. AEW does not condone such actions." Now, Mercedes Moné is still the AEW TBS champion, defeating Hikaru Shida. Hikaru Shida looked to prove she was still the ace of the AEW Women's Division at All Out by becoming the first woman to defeat Mercedes Moné in All Elite Wrestling. Moné had the edge in the head-to-head record, having already defeated Shida in the past, but with Shida winning a full way to earn another shot at the CEO and Camille being banned from ringside, the odds were in Shida's favour. However, Moné's undefeated streak remained intact as she retained her AEW TBS championship. A scrappy start led to a back and forth between the two ladies, with Moné eventually gaining control. The champion slowed the pace down for a short period. Even after a flurry of offense from Shida, Moné was still able to stay on top. After a double down that saw both women engage in a stiff strike exchange, it was Shida who got the better of Moné and looked to build some momentum by going to the top rope. However, Moné rolled out the way and showed no respect to Shida when she regained composure. Moné attempted to pay tribute to Eddie Guerrero, but after the Three Amigos, the Frog Splash ended up going in Shida's favour when she got the knees up. Shida paid tribute to Guerrero in her own way with 3 consecutive Falcon Arrows and eventually hit 3 consecutive Katanas, with Moné rolling out of the ring before Shida could get the victory. The match ended when the kendo stick came into play, as Shida decided against using it when she looked poised to deliver the final blow. However, Moné took advantage and after attempting the Moné Maker, hit a straight-up chop block to the back of the challenger's leg to disrupt her balance before hitting the Moné Maker in the center of the ring for the victory. Now, Kazuchika Okada is still the AEW Continental Champion after retaining the title at All Out. He won the championship in a fatal 4-way match last night. Rainmaker was pit against Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, and Konosuke Takeshita after each of them won their respective qualifiers during Friday's AEW Collision. And it was one that any of the competitors could have won on a different day. Cassidy and Briscoe would work in tandem given their alignment through the conglomeration, with a tense forearm exchange following a spot of jokingly lazy strikes. But Takeshita seemed to be the greatest threat to the defending champion as he continued to mount offense against all comers, exemplified by the closing stretch which saw him cut down Cassidy. After Takeshita hit the Takeshita line, Okada launched him through the ropes and delivered a Rainmaker to Briscoe, a running dropkick to Takeshita once again to knock him out of the match, before getting rolled up by Cassidy for a near fall. Freshly squeezed referees tried to follow up, but Okada had him scouted to deliver the winning Rainmaker, puffing out his cheeks as his music hit. Okada celebrated with his title on the ramp to close out the segment, while Takeshita was joined by Don Callis in grimacing towards the champion, possibly indicating a future feud between the two. Now, Chris Statlander defeated the CM All Out Women's World Champion Willow Nightingale in a street fight. Of course, the title wasn't on the line last night. Chris Statlander and the CM All Out World Women's Champion Willow Nightingale gave it everything they had against each other in a Chicago street fight at All Out. Nightingale picked the stipulation after she and Tomohiro Ishii defeated Statlander and Stokely Hathaway at All In at London's Wembley Stadium. Nightingale said leading up to the match that CM All Out wouldn't sanction the match, therefore the gold wasn't on the line. The match progressed into violence, with Statlander slamming Nightingale through the announce desk before throwing her into the ring barricade. Statlander got Nightingale onto another table set up at ringside, but Nightingale moved out of the way, and Statlander caught the majority of the crash when she attempted a swanton from the top rope. The woman fought up the ramp, and Hathaway brought out a garbage can full of weapons when Statlander was in control. Nightingale regained momentum and smashed a light tube off her opponent and drove Hathaway off with what remained. Statlander then speared Nightingale off the stage into tables set up underneath. Back in the ring, the women caught up with each other with clotheslines and both rolled out of the ring to retrieve more weapons. Statlander grabbed a bag of thumbtacks and Nightingale reached for a chain. Statlander missed a scissors kick to Nightingale and fell into the tacks in a split. Nightingale followed it up with a Death Valley driver onto the tacks, but Statlander kicked out. Statlander got what appeared to be a dog collar from under the ring and attached one end of the chair to Nightingale's wrist before wrapping it around her own. Nightingale was able to hit a gut buster near the tacks, but Statlander hit a tombstone before wrapping the chain around Nightingale's neck and face, choking her. The referee called for the bout and declared Statlander the winner. Now, Will Ospreay seems set for a future showdown with Ricochet over the AEW International Championship. At All Out, Will Ospreay and Pac put on a match that had the Chicago crowd on their feet, but by the time was over, Ospreay was still the International Champion. The men stared each other down as the crowd was on their feet before the bell rang. Pac started by putting Ospreay in a headlock, but they didn't stay grounded for very long, eventually hitting each other with dueling sky twisters. Later, Ospreay rolled out for a breather and was sent into the barricades on either side of the announce table. Pac followed with an avalanche brainbuster. The match continued in this back and forth style as the two hit each other with everything from drop kicks and pile drivers to Oz cutters and Liger bombs. At some point, however, the match began to revolve around the Poison Rana, which Pac hit on Ospreay several times, including once on the ring apron immediately after a German suplex, also on the ring apron. When Pac tried a Poison Rana off the top rope, however, Ospreay landed on his feet, then proceeded to hit the hidden blade, which Pac kicked out of. It ultimately took an Oz cutter, a Stormbreaker, a Styles Clash, and a second hidden blade for Ospreay to finally put the bastard away. Now, notably, new AEW hire Ricochet was shown watching backstage, and Ospreay called him out in a backstage promo after the match. This resulted in a face-to-face confrontation in which Ospreay backstage told Ricochet to stop collecting a paycheck, get some wins, and come fight him for the International Championship. We spoke about this earlier on. The Young Bucks are still the AEW World Tag Team Champions after the challenge was issued this past week on Dynamite. Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta attempted to leave All Out as double champions by adding the Young Bucks AEW World Tag Team Championships to the World Trios Championships they won with Pac back at All In. Unfortunately for the Blackpool Combat Club members, it was the EVPs who walked away with the victory. The match started with a back and forth battle for control, with the challengers coming out on top after forcibly trying to split Matthew and Nicholas's legs from their bodies, leading to Nicholas almost breaking his own foot on the barricade in frustration. The champions would look to take back control when they managed to get Yuta isolated from his partner, but the tables turned once more when Yuta secured the tag to Castagnoli, whose hot tag saw him do something that Nicholas couldn't do with his foot, break the barricade after delivering an uppercut to Matthew. Castagnoli got a little too confident and ended up in the front row when Nicholas ducked out of the way of an uppercut, leaving Yuta to fend for himself. Yuta held on long enough to allow Castagnoli back into the match, but the AEW EVPs looked to seal the win with an EVP trigger after regaining control, to no avail. Their confidence then got the better of them as Matthew ended up in Castagnoli's giant swing, almost leading to a victory. The end of the match came when Castagnoli, running through the ropes to come to the aid of Yuta once more, delivered a superplex to Matthew, positioning him perfectly for Yuta to hit the fastball special. However, Matthew got the knees up just in time. With Nicholas holding Castagnoli back in the corner, Matthew rolled up Yuta to secure the decisive pinfall victory. And finally, MJF won last night, but he may be off AEW TV for the near future. MJF got his victory in a grudge match with Daniel Garcia during All Out, but it wasn't a night for Garcia to walk away completely empty-handed. The match ended with underhanded tactics as MJF delivered a kick below the belt while the referee was distracted, rolling up Garcia for a 3 count. The scumbag then tried to rub proverbial salt in the wounds with a handshake ruse, but Garcia had the treachery scouted and got a measure of revenge, delivering a pile driver to his rival off the top rope, much in the same way he fell foul to it in July. The match itself saw MJF dominate his opponent, busting him open in the early stages before hitting a Panama Sunrise for a near fall as the action went on. Garcia fought back in moments and attempted to roll MJF up, getting a close 2 count before being locked into a series of submission holds to slow things down. Red Death looked in severe trouble, first trapped in a Boston Crab, then a sharpshooter, a crossface, and finally the Salt of the Earth armbar, transitioning that into a double shoulder lock before Garcia could reach the ropes with his foot. Garcia came back to lock MJF in a snug guillotine, though he stopped the referee from deciding whether MJF had passed out to transition into a pile driver for a 2 count. Then Garcia tried to take his rival to the top rope to finish things off, but MJF fought his way out of it to transition into the closing stretch. Now, as I mentioned, after the bell, he got his last laugh, Daniel Garcia, but it may now mean that MJF is off AEW TV for quite some time. Writing on social media, Ibo of Wrestle Purist noted that Garcia was actually originally scheduled to win, but the fact he's yet to re-sign with the company caused a change in plans. Ibo added that the post-match angle was a way of writing MJF off television as he's taken a break to film a movie. Of course, Garcia's contract is set to expire with AEW in October. He said, quote, "The originally planned finish to MJF versus Daniel Garcia was a clean victory for Daniel. AEW is under the impression that Garcia is staying, but because a deal has still not been signed, the decision was made to have MJF go over. MJF is expected to go film a movie." Now, speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer backed up that report that Garcia would have won the match if he had signed a new contract, especially as MJF is taking a break. He said, quote, "If he would have re-signed, he probably would have won the match." Alvarez said he wasn't sure about that theory as it would mean MJF losing for the second pay-per-view in a row. Meltzer continued, quote, "But he's gone. He's taking time off. I mean, why wouldn't he lose? But he didn't lose, but he ended up getting taken out. It's an injury angle and he's going to be gone for a while. Him and Swerve both did injury angles and they're going to be gone for a while," as he mentioned about Swerve taking time off too. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.